Money buys access, but it clearly doesn't buy brain cells. We have collected 69 documented complaints from exclusive U.S. country clubs that redefine human entitlement. From a man who tried to sue a tree to a woman who claimed the sand was the wrong shade of beige. This is what happens when reality hits a tax bracket that refuses to accept it. 1. Remove all roadrunners from the premises. That was the actual demand in a formal complaint at a country club in Scottsdale. A member claimed a roadrunner stole his ball on the 7th hole 3 rounds in a row and wanted reimbursement for every lost Pro V1. The club explained they have no jurisdiction over desert wildlife. Didn't matter. He canceled his membership, telling the front desk that management had chosen to side with the birds over a dues-paying member. 2. Breathing. That was the entire complaint. At a private club in Connecticut, a member reported his caddy was breathing too loudly on the tee box and called it acoustic harassment. The club actually sat both parties down like it was couples therapy. Turned out the caddy had mild seasonal allergies. He got reassigned to a different member. Not fired, just relocated, because his sinuses committed a misdemeanor against someone's backswing. The caddy had 6 years on the job without a single issue before that. 3. 4 pages. That is how long the letter was that a woman at a Dallas area country club wrote to the board about the bunker sand being the wrong shade of beige. She attached paint swatches from a home improvement store to illustrate the correct tone. Her reasoning was that the current sand clashed with her golf outfits. A groundskeeper with 30 years of experience reportedly stared at the letter in dead silence, set it down, and poured himself the strongest cup of coffee of his entire career. 4. A golfer in Florida reported that the alligator near the 9th hole pond was giving him intimidating looks during his approach shots. His request was to either relocate the gator or build a visual barrier so they wouldn't have to make eye contact. The club responded by posting an alligator area sign. He then complained the sign itself was intimidating. At that point, what is even the move? A mediation session between a grown man and a reptile that does not care about his short game? 5. Not too hot, not too cold. Aggressively warm. That is how a member at a Hamptons country club described the lobster bisque in the clubhouse restaurant. As if the soup had a personal vendetta against her. She demanded all future soups be served at exactly 112 degrees Fahrenheit and wanted that commitment in writing. The chef reportedly asked if she'd also like him to factor in wind chill before plating the crackers. She did not find that funny. The entire kitchen staff did. 6. You already know Arizona is hot. Apparently, one golfer never got that memo. He filed a formal complaint at his Scottsdale club that the sun was unreasonably bright on the back nine during a July afternoon round and requested shaded structures over every other hole. The membership director suggested sunglasses and a hat. He called the response dismissive and unhelpful and escalated it to the full board of directors. The board's official recommendation was sunglasses and a hat. 7. This one still gets me. A couple at a country club in Georgia complained that the sound of other people hitting golf balls was ruining their experience on the course. They were at a golf course, upset about the sound of golf being played. They formally requested quiet hours, where no one within 2 holes of them would be allowed to take a shot. The club explained that what they were describing was essentially a private course that cost several $1,000,000. They did not pursue it. 8. A missed 3-foot putt on the 16th green led to one of the most creative complaints a Chicago area club has ever received. The member blamed it on the flag, which he said was flapping too loudly in the wind. His proposed solution was replacing all 18 flags with aerodynamically silent alternatives. The head pro actually looked into it and discovered that such a product does not exist, because that is not how wind or fabric works. The complaint was filed away and never mentioned again. 9. At a resort course in Hawaii, a tourist complained that the tropical flowers near the tee boxes were visually distracting. The bright reds and yellows were apparently pulling his eye off the ball. Staff had to explain that ripping out the landscaping of a Hawaiian golf course because one guest found hibiscus personally offensive was not something they were going to do. He later left a one-star review that read, quote, "beautiful but unplayable conditions." That might be the most backhanded compliment in golf history. 10. Pace of play complaints happen all the time. This one is different. A member in Michigan got flagged by the course marshal for slow play. Standard stuff. But his formal response stated he was playing slowly on purpose as a form of mindful golf, and that rushing him was a violation of his mental wellness routine. He even attached a magazine article about mindfulness as supporting evidence. The group behind him had been waiting 45 minutes and was considerably less interested in his spiritual journey. 11. Nobody on the maintenance team at a North Carolina country club knew what to do with this one. A member complained that the on-course water fountains were dispensing water that tasted too wet. Not warm, not metallic, not stale, too wet. They replaced the filters anyway just to show effort. The member tried it again and reported it was slightly better but still suspicious. No one followed up. No one knew how. What even is the opposite of wet water? Nobody wants to find out. 12. 40-yard slice. That was this man's signature shot, and instead of fixing it, he went after the course. A golfer in Nevada filed a complaint that a fairway bunker was unfairly placed because it specifically punished his miss. He wanted it relocated or filled in entirely. The course architect designed that hole in 1972. This member had been around for 8 months. But somehow, in his mind, the 50-year-old bunker was the problem, not the banana-shaped ball flight. 13. An electric golf cart at a club in Massachusetts was apparently humming at a frequency one member described as medically triggering. He said it worsened his tinnitus and demanded that specific cart be permanently decommissioned. The club owned 40 identical carts. They asked him to come identify the offender. He said he would know it when he heard it. They never heard from him about it again. Either every single cart hums at that exact frequency, or he quietly accepted defeat. The carts won. 14. Navy blue socks. That was the scandal that rocked a Texas country club. A member spotted another member wearing navy socks instead of black ones with his golf trousers and immediately filed a dress code violation, calling it a slippery slope toward total anarchy. The board reviewed the complaint and confirmed that Navy was well within the rules. In protest, the man switched to exclusively white socks for 3 straight months in what he called a silent demonstration. Not a single person noticed. 15. She 3-putted on the 8th green, and she knew exactly who was responsible. A squirrel. A woman at a Colorado country club reported that a squirrel had watched her putt while sitting completely still and staring directly at her. She said she felt judged. Her official request asked the club to manage the wildlife's behavior near the putting surfaces. The pro shop staff tried extremely hard to keep it together during that conversation. At least one of them reportedly did not make it. 16. One member at a California club demanded a fragrance-free policy for the entire course after claiming her playing partner's perfume was contaminating the airspace. She compared it to secondhand smoke, which is honestly a creative legal angle. The club politely declined to ban perfume across a 140-acre outdoor facility. Her counter-proposal was designated scented and unscented fairways. Like smoking sections, but for people who own a bottle of Chanel. That was also declined. 17. For over 150 years, an oak tree stood on the 14th fairway of a prestigious Virginia club, unbothered. Then one member decided it needed to go. Not trimmed. Removed entirely. Because he kept slicing into it. When the board said no, he hired an arborist to write a professional report calling the tree a safety hazard. The arborist examined it and declared it one of the healthiest oaks he had ever seen. The tree is still standing on that fairway. The member is not. 18. Mid-swing on a par 3. A sprinkler head fired off and caught a golfer square in the face at a course in Oregon. That part is a fair complaint. Everything after that was not. He demanded dry cleaning, a new glove, emotional distress compensation, and 2 free rounds for him and his wife. Total estimated damages came to over $800 for getting wet on a grass surface that requires water to exist. The club's official response was to hand him a towel. 19. Some complaints start normal and then take a hard left turn. A member at a club in Pennsylvania was upset about his tea time, which sounds reasonable. But the actual issue was that the group ahead of him included a guy who laughed too loudly after good shots. He described the laugh as theatrical and disruptive, and formally requested that member be banned from all tea times within an hour of his own. The club did not build a laugh-based scheduling system. Disappointing, honestly. 20. Here is a complaint that made an entire grounds crew question reality. A member at a South Carolina club said the fairways were too green in the spring and it was giving her headaches. She wanted the club to use a softer shade of grass. The superintendent explained that grass color is determined by nature, not a color palette. Her suggestion was to explore artificial turf in a more muted tone. On a golf course, where the entire point is real grass, she was completely serious about it. 21. A member at a Louisiana country club filed a complaint that the GPS system built into his golf cart was patronizing. He said he preferred estimating yardage by feel and found the constant digital readout insulting to his experience as a golfer. For context, he had been playing for 2 years with a handicap of 34. The club offered to disable the GPS on his specific cart. He turned that down because he still wanted the screen active to track the beverage cart. So the yardage was offensive, but the beer location was essential. 22. It rained 3 Saturdays in a row in April, and a member at an Ohio club demanded a full refund on his annual dues, calling it a failure to provide adequate playing conditions. The general manager explained that weather is not a service the club controls. The member countered by asking why the club had not installed a retractable roof over the first tee. Over the first tee of an outdoor golf course. That conversation reportedly ended with a silence so long it became its own weather event. 23. The beverage cart at a country club in Alabama became the subject of a 3-page grievance. A member had timed its route over 6 consecutive weekends and discovered it arrived at the 10th hole 4 minutes later than the 7th. He called this an unequal refreshment experience and demanded a second cart exclusively for the back 9. His spreadsheet tracking arrival times across all 18 holes was described by the club manager as the most thorough and simultaneously most unnecessary document I have ever read. 24. During a casual Tuesday round at a Missouri club, a member noticed the pin on the 5th green was in the exact same spot as the previous week. He filed a complaint alleging creative laziness by the grounds crew and demanded a published rotation schedule. The superintendent pulled the records and showed the pin had been in 17 different positions that month. The member only played Tuesdays. Same day, same placement, same coincidence. He was essentially filing a formal grievance against his own tea time habits. 25. Whispering was the crime. At a New York country club, a couple submitted a complaint about another couple who quietly talked to each other on the greens. Not loudly, whispering. The complainants argued that hushed conversation was more distracting than actual noise because it made them wonder what was being said. They requested a policy banning all verbal communication within 20 feet of any putting surface. The club reminded them that whispering is traditionally considered the polite option. This somehow made them angrier. 26. A member at a Philadelphia club didn't just complain about the valet, he brought a tape measure. He claimed the valet drivers were moving his seat micromillimeters off his preferred setting. He demanded the club install laser-guided sensors in the parking lot to ensure his seat remained in the exact same position, down to the millimeter. The valet manager suggested using the memory button on the door panel. The member said that was too much manual labor for a luxury experience. 27. The Pacific Ocean was too distracting. That was the formal position of a member at a private club in San Diego. He said the view from the 16th tee was hurting his focus and requested tall hedges along the left side to block the water from his peripheral vision. Other members caught wind of it and launched a petition to protect the view that got over 200 signatures in 2 days. The hedge request was denied. The ocean remains visible and completely unapologetic about existing. 28. One member at a Georgia club filed a complaint because his playing partner used a pink ball marker on the green. He called the color visually aggressive and said it was destroying his ability to read putts. He requested a formal policy restricting all ball markers to white, black, or silver. The pro shop manager asked if he was genuinely claiming that a circle smaller than a dime was ruining his depth perception from 12 feet away. He was. He absolutely was. No policy was created. The pink marker survived. 29. Locker room politics nearly erupted at a Minnesota country club when a woman demanded reassignment to an end locker because her current one was too close to the wall. Every end locker had been assigned for years. Her proposed solution was to bump someone based on seniority. She had been a member for 11 months. The woman currently in the end locker had been there 22 years. The request was denied so quickly it might have set an administrative speed record at that club. 30. What the staff at an Indiana country club now call the December incident started at 6:45 in the morning. A member arrived, was told the course had a 2-hour frost delay, and demanded to play anyway because he had paid for access. Staff explained that walking on frozen greens kills the grass. His counteroffer was to skip all greens and just hit fairway shots for fun. When asked what the point would be, he said it was about the principle. He then sat in his car for 2 hours and played a full round anyway. 31. A member at a Tennessee country club brought a decibel meter to the course to prove the maintenance crew's mowing schedule was too loud during rounds. He recorded levels across 6 holes and presented the data to management like a courtroom exhibit. The readings were comparable to a normal conversation. Didn't matter. He wanted all mowing done between midnight and 5 in the morning. The residential neighborhood surrounding the course would have had some thoughts about that. The complaint was denied with what staff later described as polite disbelief. 32. 15,000 range balls. That is what a resort course in Myrtle Beach would have needed to replace if they honored one guest's complaint. He said the driving range balls were psychologically different from his own Pro V1s, and it was ruining his warm-up confidence. He wanted the range stocked with premium balls at no extra cost. The replacement bill would have been roughly $67,000. His green fee was $79. No amount of creative accounting was going to make that math work in his favor. 33. A misspelled name on a weekend tournament leaderboard nearly became an international incident at a Connecticut club. The member's name was Stephen with a PH, and they had written Stephen with a V. He withdrew from the tournament on the spot, demanded a reprinted leaderboard, and filed a formal grievance with the committee. It was a casual best ball scramble. The entry fee was $20. The prize was a sleeve of golf balls. He reacted like they had misspelled his name at a congressional hearing. 34. Late afternoon sun created a problem on the 14th green at a Nevada club, but not the kind you would expect. A member complained that his own shadow was in his way while putting. He requested the club restructure the entire tee time schedule so that no one would be on that green when the sun hit that specific angle. Staff sat with that for a moment and then explained they could not rearrange 200 tee times around one man's shadow. His follow-up suggestion was to relocate the green. That was also declined. 35. A country club in South Carolina received a complaint about a granola bar, specifically the sound of a granola bar. A member reported that his cart partner's chewing and wrapper crinkling on the 6th hole disrupted his pre-shot routine. He formally requested the club ban all noisy snacks on the course and publish a list of approved quiet foods. The food and beverage director, a 20-year hospitality veteran, said he had fielded thousands of complaints in his career, but had never once been asked to rank snacks by volume. 36. Social media ruined a perfectly good clover patch at a New Hampshire country club. A member demanded all clover be removed from the fairways because he considered it a weed. The superintendent explained that clover actually benefits soil health and nitrogen levels. The member did not care about nitrogen. He cared that his ball occasionally sat on a clover patch instead of pure grass, and it was ruining his course photos on social media. Aesthetic content creation was apparently his primary concern. Agricultural science was not. 37. A hand-drawn map with arrows and color coding was submitted alongside a formal complaint at an Oregon club. A member argued that the 17th hole's left dogleg was discriminatory against right-handed golfers and claimed left-to-right doglegs outnumbered right-to-left ones across the course. His map was impressively detailed. It was also completely wrong. The course had 9 doglegs in each direction, perfectly balanced. He had miscounted. But the effort he put into being incorrect was, honestly, kind of remarkable. 38. For years, the founder's portrait hung peacefully in the dining room of a prestigious Virginia country club. Then one member decided it was staring at him while he ate. He requested the painting be moved or angled away from his table. Other members caught on and started specifically requesting the table directly beneath the portrait as a joke. The painting never moved. The complaining member relocated to the patio permanently, where he later filed a separate complaint about birds being too present during his meals. 39. A guest at a resort course in Hilton Head complained that his caddy gave him too much advice. The caddy was suggesting clubs, reading greens, and flagging hazards, which the guest felt undermined his independence as a golfer. That is literally the job description of a caddy. This particular caddy had 15 years of experience and knew every break on every green. The guest shot 114 that day. By every measurable standard on Earth, he could have used considerably more advice, not less. 40. Emotionally manipulative. That is how a member at a Kentucky country club described a photo in the club's monthly newsletter. It was a picture of the 18th hole at sunset. His argument was that the image set unrealistic expectations for the actual playing experience, and when he reached the 18th on a cloudy Tuesday, he felt misled. The marketing director read the complaint aloud at a staff meeting and genuinely asked if she should start photographing the course exclusively on the ugliest days possible. 41. A member at a Michigan club was outraged that the practice putting green was slightly faster than the actual greens on the course. He called it false advertising and blamed it for ruining his speed control over 3 consecutive rounds. The superintendent explained that the practice green gets more sun exposure and drains differently, which naturally affects speed. The member rejected agronomic science as an excuse and demanded identical stimp meter readings on every surface at all times. That is not how grass works. He was confident it should be. 42. No greeting, no context, no signature. Just a photo of a single dandelion on the 3rd fairway with 2 words. Explain this. That was the complaint a Maryland country club received one Monday morning. The grounds crew pulled it the next day. A week later, another photo arrived. Different dandelion, same fairway, same message. This continued for an entire summer. The anonymous member never identified himself. The crew started calling him the Dandelion Detective, and every Monday became a mild source of anxiety for the entire maintenance team. 43. Being greeted with enthusiasm before 7 in the morning was apparently a form of aggression at a country club in Illinois. A member filed a complaint that the starter's voice on the first tee was too cheerful for early rounds, and the energy was borderline hostile before his coffee kicked in. He requested either a more subdued starter for dawn tee times or a policy requiring the starter to communicate only through hand signals until 9. The starter, described by literally every other member as pleasant and professional, was confused. 44. A left-handed golfer at a Washington State club formally complained that the ball washer on the 12th tee was positioned on the wrong side for him. He had calculated that reaching it added 14 extra steps per round. Over a full season, he estimated that amounted to nearly a mile of unnecessary walking, caused by what he called right-hand bias in course infrastructure. He submitted the math. The math was technically correct. The club did not relocate the ball washer. They also did not apologize for the 14 steps. 45. The color red was the target of a formal complaint at a private club in Rhode Island. Not red clothing specifically, the color itself. Red tee markers, red flags, red flowers near the clubhouse. A member argued that red is an inherently aggressive color that elevated his heart rate during play. The board asked if he had medical documentation. He did not. He had a blog post from a color therapy website. The board declined to ban an entire section of the visible light spectrum from a golf course. Seems reasonable. 46. A spilled iced coffee on the third hole became a full accounting event at a New Mexico country club. A member complained that his cart's cup holder was too shallow and his drink tipped over on a bumpy path. Fair enough. But the invoice he submitted included $14 for the coffee, $60 for dry cleaning his golf shorts, and a separate line item for emotional damages related to caffeine deprivation over the remaining 15 holes. Total billed $206. The club did not pay it. 47. An elk walked across the 12th fairway at a course in Wyoming during a member's backswing. He topped the ball, blamed the elk, and demanded a full refund. He argued the club should have warned him about active wildlife corridors. The starter had mentioned it. There was a sign at check-in. There were elk visibly standing in the parking lot when he arrived. He missed all 3 warnings and still expected compensation for a 30-yard top. His ball and his dignity traveled approximately the same distance that day. 48. The suggestion box at a Kansas country club produced a 3-page handwritten letter about sand rake handles. A member felt the current wooden handles did not match the aesthetic of the course, and included detailed sketches of alternative designs along with a specific wood stain recommendation. Nobody on the maintenance staff had ever once in their careers considered the visual appeal of a rake handle. The letter was pinned to the break room bulletin board, where it remained for over a year as a source of quiet but consistent entertainment. 49. A hawk grabbed a golf ball mid-bounce off the 15th fairway at a club near Atlanta, and the member who hit it was furious. He wanted a free replacement ball and a ruling that the shot should not count as lost. The rules committee actually looked it up. Under the rules of golf, he was entitled to replace the ball without penalty. He got literally everything he asked for. He still filed a complaint about the hawk. He described its behavior as predatory and unsportsmanlike. The hawk was not available for comment. 50. The soap in the men's locker room at a Wisconsin country club smelled too feminine. A member said the lavender scent made him arrive at work smelling like what he described as a botanical garden and demanded a switch to something unscented or masculine. The club replaced it with a cedar option. He then complained the cedar was too woodsy. The locker room attendant, running low on patience and soap options, suggested the member bring his own. He did. It took 2 soap changes and 1 mild confrontation to solve a problem that had a one-step solution. 51. A woman at an Arizona club measured the distance from the 7th green to the nearest restroom at 93 yards and found it unacceptable. She wanted a new facility built between the 7th and 8th holes. Estimated construction cost was roughly $45,000. Her funding proposal was a $50 annual dues increase for all members. The other 300 members were, predictably, not enthusiastic about collectively financing a bathroom based on one person's very specific hydration schedule. 52. The hole on the 4th green was too small. That was the formal complaint at a Vermont country club. It is 4 1/4 inches in diameter. It has always been 4 1/4 inches in diameter. Every regulation golf hole on the planet is 4 1/4 inches in diameter. The member insisted it felt smaller than holes at other courses and wanted it widened. The head pro showed him the rulebook. He said the rulebook was outdated. The hole remains unchanged. So does every other hole in the sport. 53. Morning dew. That was the enemy at a New Jersey country club. A member complained that his shoes were getting wet on the fairways during his 6:30 tee time and demanded the club send crew out earlier to squeegee the first 3 holes. The superintendent explained that dew forms naturally overnight across the entire course, and removing it from even one fairway would require starting at roughly 3 in the morning. The member said he genuinely did not see the problem with that. The superintendent very much did. 54. The 10th tee box at a Michigan club faced directly into the morning sun, and one member had strong opinions about it. He filed a complaint that he could not track his ball flight and wanted the tee box repositioned to face a different direction. Changing the angle of a tee box would require redesigning the entire hole. His second idea was a permanent sun visor structure over the teeing area. His third was making the 10th hole playable only in the afternoon. All 3 ideas were declined in a single meeting. 55. Wind is part of golf, but a member at a Chicago course felt it was personal. He filed a grievance stating the wind was consistently blowing against him on the par 5s, but switching to help his opponents. He actually requested a meteorological audit of the course's microclimates. He wanted proof that the wind wasn't rigged. The pro shop staff had to explain that the wind does not have a bias, nor does it know who is currently on the tee box. He remained unconvinced. 56. After returning from a golf trip to Europe, a member at a Delaware club decided the metric system was superior and complained that all yardage markers on the course should be in meters. He formally requested dual-unit markers on every hole. When the club said no, he started pacing off distances and converting them on his phone before each shot. His rounds ballooned to over 5.5 hours. Within a month, the club was getting complaints about him from other members, which is a truly impressive reversal of the complaint ecosystem. 57. Locker number 13 was unacceptable, and a member at an Oklahoma country club had the receipts. He cited 3 specific bad rounds that occurred after using the locker and wanted reassignment. The locker room manager offered number 47. He declined because 4 + 7 = 11, and 11 was also suspicious. He eventually settled on locker 26, after running what he described as personal numerology calculations in the lobby. Nobody on staff asked what those calculations involved. Nobody wanted to know. 58. The sound of wind through pine trees along the 14th fairway at a Montana course was described by one member as eerie. He said the low whistle reminded him of a horror movie and caused him to rush every shot on that hole. His solution was to thin out the trees. The course was built through a pine forest. Removing trees would alter the entire hole. Staff offered him earplugs. He declined, saying that would block him from hearing his playing partners. So he wanted selective silence, only from the trees. Everything else could stay audible. 59. Soft jazz in the pro shop was the problem at a Virginia country club. A member complained the genre was too unpredictable for a golf retail environment, and it made browsing merchandise stressful. She requested classical music or silence. The club switched to classical. Within a week, a different member complained it made the shop feel like a funeral home. They switched back to jazz. The first woman never set foot in the pro shop again and started buying all her gear online. 2 complaints, 2 genre changes, 0 satisfied customers. 60. Parking lot tension at a Florida country club escalated when a member complained that another member always parked next to him, even when dozens of spots were empty. He called it territorial intimidation. The other member explained he just liked parking near the bag drop. Both of them wanted the same convenient spot. The club refused to assign parking spaces, so the complaining member started arriving 45 minutes early just to park first. He was setting his alarm for 5 in the morning over a parking space at a golf course. 61. 30 golf balls. That is how many one member at a Nebraska club lost in the water hazard on the 6th hole in a single season. Instead of adjusting his aim, laying up, or taking a lesson, he calculated the replacement cost at roughly $150 and submitted an invoice to the club. Their response was a complimentary lesson with the teaching pro. He called that insulting and never redeemed it. He also never changed his approach. By all indications, the water hazard is still collecting his golf balls to this day. 62. Every bench on the course at a main country club needed to go, according to one member. He complained that the wooden benches were not ergonomic and were causing lower back discomfort during rounds. He wanted cushioned seating installed at every hole plus the practice area. The estimated cost was north of $12,000. His compromise was free portable cushions from the pro shop. The pro shop started selling them for $15 instead. He bought one. Then he filed a separate complaint that the cushion was overpriced. 63. At a club in Palm Springs, the ice cubes became a legal issue. A member complained that the standard square cubes in his scotch melted inefficiently fast compared to spherical ice. He argued this diluted his drink and cost him money. He demanded the club invest in artisanal ice presses for the beverage cart. We are talking about a cart that drives over bumps at 15 miles an hour. He wanted hand-pressed ice spheres made in a moving vehicle. The beverage director just stopped making eye contact. 64. A guest at a Hilton Head resort complained that the four caddy assigned to his group was too knowledgeable. He said the caddy's constant insight about course history, grass types, and shot strategy made him feel unintelligent, and he wanted someone who would just carry the bag and stay quiet. The caddy director was baffled, since the usual complaints go in the opposite direction. The four caddy had won the resort's Caddy of the Year award 3 times. He was reassigned to another group without a word. Talent, it turns out, can also be a problem. 65. A spirit level from a home garage made it onto the 8th green at an Indiana country club. A member was convinced the flagstick was leaning 2 degrees to the right and subconsciously pulling his putts offline. He brought his own level to prove it. The greenskeeper checked, and the flagstick was perfectly vertical. The member's level, however, was not calibrated correctly. When informed of this, he insisted his tool was accurate and the club's equipment was faulty. He never accepted the result and simply started aiming 2 degrees left permanently. 66. High fives were the problem at a private club outside Boston. A member filed a complaint that the group behind him was celebrating after good shots, and it was making the course feel like a stadium. He formally requested a maximum celebration policy, limiting reactions to a simple nod or quiet fist pump. The club reminded him that golf is supposed to be enjoyable, and that high fives are generally considered positive human behavior. He disagreed. He described visible joy on a golf course as undignified. That single word tells you everything you need to know about this man. 67. White leather shoes are a risk on grass, but one member at a Utah club blamed the chlorophyll. He filed a complaint that the grass stains on his new shoes were chemically aggressive and accused the grounds crew of using a dye to make the course look greener. He demanded lab testing of the fairway clippings and full reimbursement for his footwear. The superintendent offered to wash the shoes. The member said the emotional damage of seeing them dirty was irreversible. 68. A member at a North Dakota country club wanted hills. Specifically, he complained the course was too flat and wanted elevation changes added to at least 4 holes. This is North Dakota. The surrounding terrain for roughly 50 miles in every direction is also flat. Building artificial hills on a prairie golf course would have cost well over $300,000. His proposed funding method was a bake sale. Nobody calculated how many brownies that would require, but the break room agreed it was a number beyond human comprehension. 69. This last one might be the most perfectly absurd complaint on the entire list. A member at a West Virginia country club called the front desk to report that the golf course was too long. Not one hole, all 18. He said playing from the back tees took too much effort and wanted every single hole shortened by at least 20 yards. Staff suggested he play from the forward tees. He said that was not the same thing. and it would damage his pride. So instead of walking to a different set of T markers, he wanted the entire course physically rebuilt. The course was not rebuilt. His pride remains in jeopardy. That was 69 reasons why the customer is actually the problem. Hit like and subscribe if you survived the nonsense. Now, be honest. If a wealthy member offered you $5,000 to go arrest a squirrel for looking at him the wrong way, like in number 15, are you taking the job or calling a psychiatrist? I want to know if your dignity has a price tag. Drop your number in the comments.